everyone, my name is Haley. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am super excited because it marks my first ever Preptober video. So without further ado, let's get it rolling. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to let you guys know that I've actually never really completed a full Preptober before. Like, yes, this is my first video that I've ever done for Preptober, but it is also the first time that I'm actually attempting it for myself. I've always been a little bit of a planner, a little bit also of a pantser, so I've never sat down and done like a full plan of my novel or whatever I'm going to be working on during NaNoWriMo. And for the last 4 years, I've only really been working on my novel in progress, Dancing in the Realm of Shadows, during NaNoWriMo. So this is the first time in 4 years that I'm actually going to be attempting to write a 50,000 word novel during NaNoWriMo. That isn't what I've been working on for a long time. Long story short is when I actually sat down and started planning my novel, doing just like little short synopses for the rest of the chapters, it was a lot easier for me to sit down and write when I didn't want to write. So now that November is just around the corner, it's Preptober, I've decided to challenge myself by actually doing a lot of planning before NaNoWriMo so that I'll really feel motivated to keep writing even on days that I don't want to write. So we'll see how this actually works out. I'm planning on doing NaNoWriMo weekly updates, or maybe even I don't want to say daily because I feel like I'll say that and then I won't do it. So we'll keep that in the background for now. But if you are interested in me doing NaNoWriMo dailies or what have you, let me know in the comments below and we'll see what I end up doing. Now let's get Preptober actually started. So I think the number one thing to think about when you first decide that you're going to do NaNoWriMo is to figure out where you're actually going to be writing. So for me, as soon as the pandemic hit and everything, I developed this lovely little office space for me. As I was working to finish my novel, I found that on days where I really didn't want to write, I would come down here, and just being in an actual dedicated office space made it a lot easier for me to focus and put away my phone and just really get into the heart of what I wanted to be working on in that specific day. I do have a desk in my room that I also like to use. It's a lot less formal than this. It's a little more cluttered, not like that cluttered, but since I use that for day-to-day going on my computer and whatnot, sometimes it's hard for me to focus on just writing. So I have this alternate space that I can use when it's just my writing time and I can just kind of ignore everything else in the world and just come into my basement and do a little write. So yeah, but I mean, I'm also planning on, hopefully if the weather is nice or anything, I could take a couple of days to go outside and write, or walk to a coffee shop that has outdoor seating and write. That would be a lot easier if we were not in a global pandemic right now, but I feel like I used to love going to coffee shops to do writing when I was at school, and during NaNoWriMo we would have little write-ins at a local coffee shop that was close to campus, and I felt really motivated with my coffee and my laptop and everything. So hopefully I could have a couple cafe days down the road, but being that I'm in Wisconsin and it's already getting chilly outside, we'll see what happens. You want to prep your space and just make sure that it's as motivating for you as possible. Like, I have this rainbow-y tapestry along the staircase leading down. I have some books behind me. I got some crystals. Whatever makes you feel motivated to get writing is a good idea for your writing space, prep space, what have you. Next on the list is to decide what type of story are you writing, because unless you know what genre you're in, the type of story you want to be writing, it could be hard to actually get started. So for me, this year I will be using the Save the Cat book to try to plot out my novel, just because I am newer to plotting, because I always did a little bit of discovery and plot in the mix when I was working on works in the past. So I literally just finished this the other day. It took me a long time to read it, actually. I was planning on getting it done a lot sooner, and I'm actually going to be using it to revise my novel as well. So there will be a video eventually on revising my novel, where I will go through how I'm using the Save the Cat book to kind of figure out exactly what genre my book is in, because unlike genres in the typical sense, Save the Cat has genres, well, differently. So you can think of like fantasy, sci-fi, contemporary romance, mystery, what have you. And each of those could fit into one of the Save the Cat genres. There's specific ones like Monster in the House that is usually horror, but could also be thriller and could also like mix the traditional genres up. It's just like the story. Alright, so as you could just see by the blackout thing, my camera did die. So we're just gonna pick up exactly where we left off. So I was just talking about Save the Cat, blah blah blah. Done with that. All done. This is gonna be the next book that I'll be reading through this adventure, Preptober, exactly. Because I think it's important to, as a part of your prep, to challenge yourself and to read a different craft book and figure out where your problems lie. Because NaNoWriMo is all about challenging yourself, and if you don't have anything to challenge yourself with, why are you doing it? I mean, that's silly, but still. So I just picked up this book by Jane Allison. It's called Meander, Spiral, Explode, and it's about design and pattern in narrative. So if you're interested in this book that I just picked up, I'll probably talk about it more as I start reading it. I haven't read any of it yet, so I don't want to talk about it, but I just wanted to let you guys know that this is the craft book that I'll be reading in addition to Save the Cat Writes a Novel for the structuring and experimenting with what I write. It's kind of funny though, because Save the Cat is a structure book, and this is kind of an experiment book, going away from the traditional arch of a story plot. So I'm very excited to read this, especially because I really want to challenge myself with structure and becoming more of a plotter as we go, and I can say more about that in another video entirely of why structure, what I'm doing with structure. If you guys are interested, just let me know in the comments. Alright, so my third tip for Preptober is to just prepare and make a checklist of all the things that you personally need in order to have a successful NaNoWriMo. Whether you've done NaNoWriMo before or you are a newbie and have never done it, I think looking up and seeing what you personally need in order to write a successful book is kind of pretty important if you're going to be successful. So research, whether it's a fantasy novel, contemporary, whatever. As soon as you know where you are, when you are, how old your characters are, research all of those things, because being as specific as you can and doing all of that research prep stuff in advance will definitely help you as you're writing. Because the last thing a writer wants, and I know this well enough, is to be typing away at my laptop when all of a sudden I don't know what the name of a certain thing in the certain place is, and I have to stop writing, throw it away basically, and look up what I need in order to continue pushing my story forward. Granted, there are some writers who will just pause and go to another place and then have to rework back and all that stuff. But if you research beforehand, you can really avoid all of those things. So as someone who personally is trying really hard to get better at research, I also challenge you, in addition to challenging myself, to make sure that you're doing a lot of research before you write your book. And this can help for discovery writers too, because again, as you're discovering, you want to make sure you know everything about your setting or your character beforehand, because otherwise you'll just be looking up things. My fourth tip is to get a notebook or a digital planner of some sort. I've always used Scrivener for my plotting purposes. Like I would use the index on the far right side and that's how I would make my chapter synopses. For NaNoWriMo this year, I have downloaded the Campfire beta because one, I've never used Campfire before and I thought it would be a really interesting way to reimagine all this plotting stuff instead of just writing a synopsis to have a place for everything to go. In addition, since I really do like writing things by hand, but I've kind of gone away from it for a while now because I have Scrivener. But since I tend to get distracted on my laptop, I also have this handy dandy old notebook of mine that I never finished completing because I never complete any of my notebooks that I actually got for my 10th birthday. And I remember it because it's gold and I got it for my golden birthday. Anyways, I just put some whiteout tape here, wrote NaNoWriMo 2020, and as of right now it is completely blank. I haven't done anything with it yet. But for my video next week, I am hoping to go over brainstorming ideas, character, and setting, I believe is what I planned. And yeah. So I will be using a mixture of learning how to do the Campfire beta and also just using my notebook, as well as copying and pasting some of those things into my Scrivener, since I will be using my Scrivener mostly for all my typing needs this year. I know a lot of YouTubers out there, or author-tubers I should say, have made planning workbooks and whatnot that you can download for free or get for a donation or a small fee or something. I think Sarah Cannon with Heart Breathings and Natalia Lee are two that come to mind off the top of my head. And I might actually download Sarah Cannon's and paste some of her templates into this. I haven't decided exactly yet what I want to use this notebook for, but you'll be the first to know. And if planning is something that you're really scared of or don't really know where to start, I highly recommend getting one of these templates, because I feel like although I definitely could write out all the questions myself and create another calendar, I mean I have one already in my bullet journal, so I'm used to that. But it does save a lot of time, and if you're running low on time, I mean it's already October 8th when I'm recording this, so I'm a little bit behind already on my Preptober calendar. So that's just another way to save a little bit of time and also make it pretty and legible and help you just like really think deeper about your work as a whole. Number 5 on my list is to give yourself rewards. I did this last year, and although I didn't win, I think I got about 26,000, so a little bit over halfway, which is honestly really good for me. But any words you write during November is good words, so I'll grant you that. 50,000 is not the end-all be-all. But something that really helped me get through even that 26,000 words was creating rewards for myself, which I'll probably put in this notebook for every 5 or 10,000 words. So for me personally, I think last year I did 5, 10, 15, 25, 35, 40, and 50? Yeah, I think that's what I did. I think I'll space it out a little bit more this year and do 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50. I haven't decided yet, but I know my top one was going to be spa day for the 50,000. So if that intrigues you, you can steal that reward. I'm giving you permission. Or it could be a cup of coffee at your local coffee shop, or a self-care day, or a day off of writing. I think deciding that in advance is so helpful to keep you moving when you really just don't want to write. And I don't know if I said this yet. I don't think I included it in one of my top 6. But I think that scheduling out what days you are gonna write is gonna be super helpful as well. Because if you plan in advance the days that you're gonna take off, like I'm going to be working weekends at my retail job during the month of November, so I can't I mean, I could write over the weekend as well. I don't have super long shifts. I could probably manage that 1,600 word count as well. But to allow some breathing room, I might just say that I'm going to be writing Monday through Friday, and I'm only going to be writing five days a week. And if I fall behind on one of those 5 days, then I could definitely pick that day up over the course of the weekend and still be on track for NaNoWriMo. Finally, my 6 I almost put 10. My 6th tip for the beginning of Preptober for NaNoWriMo is to be okay with failure. Oh, and this goes exactly into what I literally just said. So one of the reasons that I had such a hard time with NaNoWriMo in the past, and this isn't taking into like finals as an excuse because finals was always in November for my college, but I always planned to do the full 7 days a week, to do that full 1667, and then I always got behind by like a lot because it adds up so quickly. Like, I feel like 1667 is such a small number in a day to write. Like, I could write 1,600 words probably in an hour and a half to 2 hours depending on the mood or how I feel in that given day, that writing day. But with everything that's happening in our lives right now, especially with COVID, you can't plan, I mean, you can plan to write every single day of the month of November if you want to. For me personally, I feel that especially this year with circumstances and everything going on, that if I allow myself to take time off and to catch up later, that my whole NaNoWriMo experience will be that much more successful and just a happier experience all the way around, because I'll know deep down that I at least put in an effort, I guess. That I planned ahead. That I knew that on certain days I wouldn't write, and I knew on other days I would, and that if I fell behind on one of those days that I really wasn't motivated or I was feeling too anxious or pent up or overwhelmed, that I could take a breathing day, pick it up the next day, and have a little room to space it all out, I guess. I guess the only thing left to do after that is to announce your project at nanowrimo.org. But, is it nanowrimo.org? Let me double check that before I give you wrong information. It is. Go to nanowrimo.org and begin your project. Again, there are so many tips and tricks for NaNoWriMo. I just wanted to give you my top 6 for that first step into planning for NaNoWriMo, and I will see you guys all next week with another video. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and click that little notification bell so you can get all updates for my future videos, because you will not want to miss the rest of my Preptober series that I have coming out, let me tell you. And like this video if you found any of the tips at all helpful to you. Those likes do help me grow and reach a larger audience, so I really appreciate it. And leave a comment below if you have any questions or your own beginning of Preptober NaNoWriMo tips and tricks and what have you. What if you already know what genre you're going to be writing in, tell me where you're going to be writing, if you have a basement office like me, or an office in your room, or you're gonna go outside. Tell me if you're in a warm state, because I'm jealous of that a lot right now. But we got pretty leaves, so it's okay. And I will see you all next week for another video. Bye, guys. I can delete that part. That doesn't... Oh my gosh. And still be on track for Camp Nano. And still be on track for NaNoWriMo.